What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with my review of the TCL 30XL. So let's get started. Now, for full disclosure, I did buy this phone with my own money. However, in the past, TCL has sent me a variety of different devices, and I've also attended some of their events. Overall, I think they're a really good company, especially for lower-end budget Android devices, and they have a great team behind them. Now, in the US, you can buy this phone factory unlocked, but you can also get it through some of the various TracFone carriers. So you can get it through TracFone itself, but it's also available at Straight Talk and Total Wireless. And it certainly is possible that as time goes on, this phone will be offered at even more carriers. Now, to see the most up-to-date pricing and availability, I have left links in the video description, so definitely take a look, as I'm sure that will change as time goes on. But in general, this device is offered at around $150. So keeping that in mind, you certainly shouldn't expect too much here, but at the same time, we do have quite a few features, and I'm looking forward to showing you all of that throughout this video. And before we get too far into things here with the device, let's see what all comes included here in the box. Now, this is the factory unlocked version of the device, so keep that in mind. I'm sure if you get the phone through a carrier, you probably are not going to be getting the same box. I know, for example, with TracFone, you usually get a massive box, so keep that in mind, and some of the items included here might not be the same as well. But here is the box. You can see right there, TCL 30XL. Then on the back of the box, we have some basic information about the phone, but again, I'll be going over all of this throughout the video. Then included here, we have an 18-watt USB wall adapter with TCL branding on it. We have a USB-C cable for charging and data transfer. We have some literature here, and we also have a clear plastic case. So this case isn't necessarily that protective, but at the same time, it's certainly better than nothing, and I'm glad that it is included here. Now, with this device, we have a very large 6.82-inch display, which does make this phone very ideal for content consumption. Now, you might be familiar with TCL with their vast background in creating TVs, and essentially, when they started making smartphones, they took their experience from creating TVs and applied it to their phone displays. So even though a device like this one is very low end, the display here actually looks really good. It has really nice colors, and of course, it's not AMOLED, it is LCD, so you can only do so much with LCD. But again, for a very low-end device like this one, I am very happy with how the display does look. Now, the display is 60 Hz, so that's expected, of course, in this price range. It is a 720p display, but things do look pretty crisp and clear here. We have a PPI of 263, and we have a 20.5:9 aspect ratio. So a more narrow but taller form factor here, which does make this phone very ideal for going on social media, as due to this form factor, you'll be able to fit more of your feed in a single frame, which means that you really won't have to scroll quite as much if you think about it. Now, we do have a water drop notch up top here, which does feature a 13 megapixel front-facing camera. Now, stay tuned for later on in the video, as I'll be showing you a variety of different photo and video samples from the device. And then we also do have a slightly thicker bottom bezel. But in general, the phone does have pretty small bezels, and the design that we're getting here is definitely very practically minded. Now, internally with this device, we are getting 64 gigabytes of storage, and we also have microSD card expansion. Now, unfortunately, there is no wireless charging with the TCL 30XL, but this device does feature a fingerprint sensor on the back of the phone. So let's give that a try right now. So very fast and responsive. Let's try that one more time. So very quick. So definitely happy with the implementation here of the fingerprint sensor, and it definitely does work very well despite this phone being very low end. Now, in addition to having the fingerprint sensor, this device also features face unlock, so I do appreciate that we have multiple methods here for accessing the phone. Now, on the back of the device, we have a quad camera setup featuring a 50 megapixel main camera, a 5 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera, and a 2 megapixel macro camera for close-up images. And this phone does support portrait mode for both the rear and front cameras. Now, here's how things look on the camera app on the device. This is with the main camera right now. Then from here, we can switch over to the ultra wide angle camera, and as you can see, we can fit a lot more content into the frame. I'm definitely a big fan of having an ultra-wide camera, and it especially comes in handy when capturing images outdoors, and maybe you're in an area where there's big buildings and you want to fit the entire building into one photo. That's definitely where the ultra-wide camera can come in handy. But we can also head over to the More tab here and access the Super Macro mode. So using that macro camera, we can get very close up, and as you can see, things are nice and clear. We can then head over to portrait mode to get those blurred out backgrounds, and then we can flip around to the front-facing camera and do the same thing. So there's me right there, pretty awesome. We can also switch to the standard photo mode too to take a regular selfie. So overall, we have quite a few different features here. There's even a pro mode, for example. But overall, we have quite a few features here with this device, considering that it is very low end. We have a lot of different cameras and a lot of features within the camera app itself. Now with the TCL 30 XL, we have 6 GB of RAM paired up with the MediaTek Helio P35 processor. Now overall, this phone does run pretty slowly. So if you're looking to do anything beyond phone calls, text messages, and occasional social media, I can definitely see some frustrations coming up with this phone, since again, it's not really that fast. So if you just want a phone for watching video content and just doing some of those more basic tasks, then it will be fine. But if you are someone that spends a lot of time on your device throughout the day, then I definitely think that you will be disappointed by how slow the processor is with this phone. Now, another downside with the processor that we're getting is that it doesn't support 5G connectivity. So this phone is limited at 4G LTE. Now in 2022, you can certainly get by with just 4G LTE. But that being said, if you're going to go out and buy a brand new phone, you might as well get one that supports your carrier's latest and greatest network. So that's something that's worth considering. Now I did run a benchmark test using Geekbench 5, and I'll show you the scores from that test right now. But again, overall, this is not a very fast phone. I got a single core score of 155 and a multi-core score of 868. So what I recommend doing is running this test on your phone and then compare your scores to these scores to get a better idea of how the TCL 30 XL measures up against what you currently have. Because who knows, the phone you have right now might be faster than this phone. Now, video recording with this device does max out at 1080p with both the rear and front cameras, which is great. We also get a very large 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery with the device, and it does feature 18 watt fast charging. Now, as you saw earlier on in the video, there is an 18 watt fast charger included, so that's awesome. So right out of the box, you can recharge this phone very quickly. So that's definitely going to come in handy because with that 5,000 milliamp hour battery, that's pretty large in capacity. So being able to recharge that faster will definitely be a huge benefit. So in that department, things are looking very good. Another good thing about this phone too is that it does feature Android 12 out of the box. Now I'm not sure how many updates this phone will get throughout its lifespan. It certainly is possible that it might not get any major updates at all, and maybe just some security patches here and there. So if you do buy this phone, I wouldn't expect too much as far as software updates go, but the good news is that it does at least have Android 12, so it's not necessarily that behind when it comes to software. I know Android 13 is going to be coming out pretty soon, but it's not officially out yet, so I definitely don't mind that we have Android 12 here, because that's about as good as things could be. Now there's no NFC with this device, which is a bit unfortunate, so keep that in mind if you do like to make mobile contactless payments. However, with this being a very low-end phone, I'm not necessarily that surprised that we don't have that feature. But let's now take a look at some camera samples from the TCL 30 XL. Now overall, I'm really impressed with the camera quality from the TCL 30 XL. Now of course, this is a very low-end Android device, and I certainly didn't expect the images to really be that great, and certainly nowhere near the quality of a much more expensive device like a Galaxy S22 Ultra or an iPhone 13. But for what this is, it can take very decent usable pictures. So if you are at an event and maybe you want to capture some memories to save for later, you can certainly do that here. And if you want to share photos on social media from this device, the quality will definitely be good enough where it's worth posting those pictures. So I'll let the quality speak for itself overall, but I'm definitely happy with the photo quality from this device. But let's now take a look at some video samples from the TCL 30 XL. What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with a front-facing test video from the TCL 30 XL. Definitely curious to know what you think of both the video and audio quality. And here is a 1080p test video from the TCL 30 XL using the main rear camera. Now this device also supports taking video with the ultra wide-angle camera, but you can't switch between the two while recording a single video, so keep that in mind. And we do have pretty quick autofocus in video mode, which is a great thing to see. And here is an ultra wide angle video from the TCL 30 XL. So so you can fit quite a bit more into the frame here. Now taking a closer look at the hardware of this device, it is made completely out of plastic, besides the display, which is glass. I already talked quite a bit about the front panel here, but we do have that water drop notch and the thicker bottom bezel. Then, on the left side of the phone, we have a slot for the microSD card and SIM card. Then on the right side of the phone, we have volume up, volume down, and the power button. Then up top here, we have a 3.5mm headphone jack, and also a noise-canceling microphone. And then on the bottom of the phone, we have the speaker, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, microphone, and that's pretty much it. Then, on the back of the device, we have the quad camera setup, the flash, fingerprint sensor, and the TCL logo. Now, in general, I am pretty happy with this finish on the back of the phone. It does pick up some fingerprints, but I am glad that it's not a glossy back. I do prefer having a matte material on the back of the phone like we have here. So, even though this phone is made out of plastic, I feel like it does feel of pretty decent quality and doesn't necessarily feel really cheap, that's for sure. So in conclusion, I do think the TCL 30 XL is a pretty decent low-end Android device. I guess it really depends on what your other options are for whether or not you should go for this phone. But if you're not looking to spend too much money and you want a Android device that has decent cameras, a decent amount of storage as well, a large, good-looking display, and also really good battery life, then this certainly might be a device worth considering. There are, of course, some downsides, such as the phone being 4G LTE only, and also having a very weak processor. But if you can look past those things, maybe those things aren't that important to you, then this device definitely might be worth getting. But I hope you found this review of the TCL 30 XL to be helpful. If you liked the video, definitely give it a thumbs up. But this is Kevin here, and I will see you in the next one.